the reason I got into YouTube was because I envisioned this hierarchy of like top creators, which I've mentioned before, but it's like you and others, where I was like, there's one cabal that I want to get into. It was like The Room. And that's what like it was a huge motivator for me to try and make stuff. And then once I got there, I kind of realized it was just at the point where it was fracturing into these like subgenres of YouTube. And now it's like sub genre, and there is no like master of it all. Because like PewDiePie, like still number one most subscribed like individual, I think. And I don't hear anything from him about him ever, even though I love his content. It's just like there is no like master of the universe on YouTube. That just doesn't exist. There is no hierarchy necessarily. Like there's just people that are respected for different reasons.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it is interesting that you say that because I think when there would be like controversy after controversy that involved him, it's like it was very easy to be like, yes, that's the guy. But now now, and even though he still very much is, now you just, I think you almost see it as like, you want to call it competing, but like competing armies. Like there's just,
Mm-hmm.
everyone can be massive, right?
Yeah.
There's a Mr. Beast who gets 16 million average on like a video and then can just make a second channel and it does just the same. Like that's, you don't ever see that. So I would almost say like if you said there was like there are like several faces, like those guys I
Mm-hmm.
think would still be up there, but it is interesting because it's like just these land masses of people that you might not be
Yeah.
aware of.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the Twitterverse is one version of human beings and how they
Mhm.
react to things. And it's like everyone outside of that is different from that ecosystem. And so you could technically get a large group of people to go and do anything that they see as just or righteous, but that doesn't mean that it actually is or that it'll have any kind of effect.
Mhm.
It's just two, yeah, warring factions. And that's like a big problem with like finding the truth in all of this is that people really do feel like they understand the world, even though if you hold it up to the light, most of the things they feel or think are actually baseless. And
Yeah,
it's like, when are we going to get in a place where we have a collective imagination? It's like that's
I don't know.
leaving
Yeah,
us.
I don't know if that is. I think everything is so fractured and bubbled, right? Everyone's so disconnected. Like everyone's reality is different. Like one of my favorite things in the past, it would have been my least favorite things because I used to be like, oh, someone doesn't like me. But one of my favorite things is posting a political news video to Facebook just to fucking see the insanity. Because if you look to like a Facebook, if you look at like most engaged like news distributors, it's actually people like Breitbart. It's actually people like Daily Caller and Fox News, and then after you take a big drop as far as engagement, then you have like a CNN. But so it's like a
Yeah.
completely different ecosystem than if I post something on YouTube or I mean especially Twitter. And so it's a weird thing, but it's also I think that's also part of the reason why I do have no hope. Like I know that a lot of people have been I think I know a lot of people like the things the past month and a half has been to point to The Social Dilemma on Netflix because
Hmm.
it's like look at the internet, it is this boogeyman, this like thing that can make people go to extremes, and it is accurate. I think it's short-sighted in like the positives that it provides, because ultimately it's like, hey, this whole thing that you're using, it's a manipulation tool, but it's like we do benefit from it. There are positives if wielded properly, but as someone I think that maybe was all about this whole thing being the Wild West 10 years ago, I think
Hmm.
the last 5 have shown like it needs to be reined in some way. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's possible. And so I think it's always going to be this fight, and it's not even this fight of ideals anymore. It's this fight of reality. What is reality? Because
Yeah.
once again, when I post to Facebook, the people there are already more inclined to believe things are a completely different way than yeah, if I post to like YouTube.
Yeah, it's to me like that was the most depressing thing coming out of 2016 was the idea that there are lost souls in this like QAnon like conspiracy world that are unreachable by like me. Because before 2016, influencers were referred to as influencers totally unironically. We thought we had a lot of influence.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out we had almost none. I feel like we have almost none in terms of like actually influencing people's thoughts and opinions. Like, really, we are just subject to an algorithm that will deliver our information to eyes that already want to see it for the sheer purpose of polarizing them further. So they'll spend more time watching garbage that makes them think they're right. And so, like, there really isn't a lot of influence anymore. The influence is actually the big tech companies, which is not the Wild West. They're total monopolies, and their valuations are insane because they have a total stranglehold on our brains through our phones. So it's like, it doesn't feel like they are specifically designing it in an opposite way so that it isn't the Wild West where we're actually interacting with people who we disagree with. It's like, it's a mess.
Actually, around this, I know that you said influencers don't have the influence, but do you think that we've gotten past a time where creators or influencers get to be apolitical?
Sure.
We're past that, you think? It's actually more
Wait,
damaging to not talk about it?
I don't know. It depends.
I mean, we
Depends on
got
what you're making.
we got The Rock out here endorsing people in probably the most divisive election. And I think and it was wild to look through his comments because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so fucking ugly."
Yeah.
Cuz like his whole appeal is he's cool and you don't know you don't know anything. Like any single person that is famous, like what is Charlie D'Amelio, the person you don't know but is massive? What is her
Yeah.
opinion on the death penalty? What is her opinion on abortion? What is her opinion on healthcare? The moment you throw that out there, you immediately fracture your audience. And so I think that's why people have stayed away from it. But now I feel, and maybe it's not always the case, because you constantly do see people saying like celebrities should stay out of politics. And 4 years ago I was one of them, and I think some, especially if it's coming from nothing, I think that's valid. But I do wonder, especially after if the influencer's a certain age, like does it ultimately hurt them, or are we just in this divisive time where it feels like that?
This is how I see it. If what is her name? Charlie D'Amelio?
Name someone that you know.
Um who's like an apolitical influencer? I can't even think of one. Um
Roman Atwood,
I
is he apolitical? I don't know.
Yeah, I know Roman Outwood-ish. I mean, Dude Perfect.
Okay, yeah, dude,
Um
perfect.
they are like, I would say they are a frat, but I watch them, which I hate frat guys. So it's like, what's going on there? It's because they're not talking about gay marriage or abortion.
Right.
Now, the second they come out and be like, that Duck Dynasty guy had something in here. He like knew. He was prescient. I'm like, well, that's the second I stop watching them. And why would they do that? I mean, what they make is trick shot videos and compilations like that. They like ride around on golf carts and shoot each other with Nerf. It's like, I don't need to know what they think about like which stage of the pregnancy is it okay to rip the baby out. I don't need to know that.
Oh my
It's
god.
like
Why would you even describe it like that?
because that's what it is. I feel like on the left we say a woman's right to choose whatever, do with her own body what you want, but ultimately she's taking a effing fetus out of her body. It's like that's what it is. So we've desensitized ourselves to the reality of what that is. On the right, they're like, the second the egg hits the thing, that's when Jesus decided to lay his beautiful hands on it. And so it's like, I think we should be able to call it what it is, and it's abortion's pretty ugly.
That's
And
a that's
that
a
in
that's
that
a that's a very Louis C.K. standpoint. Obviously, like he made that joke like several years ago of just like he's like, I think you could do it, but it is like yeah.
Yeah. So we should be able to have honest conversations about what it is, I think. But does Dude Perfect need to have that conversation? I don't think so. And furthermore, the second they come out in support of something, they'll embolden a base of people who already agree with them.
Hmm.
And for the other people, they'll just leave. And they won't, I don't feel like their ideologies will be questioned. Like the people who are following them and are pro-life will say, and they come out as pro-choice. I don't feel like the pro-lifers are going to shift at
Hmm.
all. It's like, what's the point of doing that? I don't feel like I feel like being political can have like good effects to your It's like coming out as gay. You know, when you come out as gay, you lose a few homophobes, but really you embolden a base of people that are like, this guy is gay. And now we can celebrate that. And we have this whole niche community that you can deliver content to all the time that just love the fact that you're gay. And now you're even more famous despite being a minority. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares what your political opinion is?
So, okay,
Most people.
so what would you say to people that would then say, like, well, if you're staying quiet on it, you're complicit on insert whatever topic?
I mean, I'd say the same thing. Like, it's bullshit.
It's just
The
because
Rock.
Oh, wait, go for it.
The Rock is the most like influential. He's the highest paid celebrity in the world. I think the highest paid actor in the world. So he says that, and then suddenly people are going to come out and be like, you know what? The Rock has a point. I guess now I'll vote for Biden. Nobody is saying that. The most he can do is encourage people to get registered to vote and to vote. But just saying, supporting a candidate, I'm like, Beyonce came out in support of freaking Hillary Clinton. Literally the whole cabal of the Hollywood elites. Jeffrey Epstein was like, let's go Hillary. You know, everybody across the board. And she still lost by a landslide. She lost in the Electoral College. It was like horrible. I just don't feel like celebrities are that influential.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think on a lot of topics, I have a. I think the only thing, and it's like something that I have to tell myself, because when I feel what you're talking about, I very much agree. But then because that's like, because no one's gonna come out and I'm gonna be like, yeah, Joe Pesci has some fucking good points. Like,
See, I would turn for Joe Pesci. That's the thing.
but I end up having to be like, okay, let me try and step out of my shoes, like, and think of like, because I think there's still 10% of people that say they don't know what they're gonna do. So it's like, which I don't know where you are if you're still undecided at this point. Like, but maybe it's like,
That's so true. Who knows how you're going to get to that person? Maybe The Rock is the way.
maybe The Rock. That's it. I don't know.
I shouldn't dismiss it, because who knows if there's 10% of people that don't know who they're going to vote for. It's like, I have no idea who that person is, and
Right.
I don't know how to get to them. So, you know what?
That's The Rock's doing the dirty work for that 10%.
Sure, let it happen. Let it happen.
But also, yeah, I mean, even saying they do, it's to your point, it's like, do they then actually push it away? Because is it more of like, there is this conversation of like, oh, Hollywood elite, now he's turned? Because as much as it could be like, you see yourself in someone else or look to them or aspire, immediately you could close the door. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Only
But-
Facebook knows. Only Facebook knows how humans will react to it.
Only Facebook knows.